to, and I can make this go out. You have all the control in the world. So let's now bring this down and bring that down. You'll see, pretty cool. You have, again, all the control in the world. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna work with maybe a little bit of a different shape, which is gonna be this little pretty graphic down here, which is a very complex graphic. So if we take a look at the layers, we'll see that there's actually quite a bit happening within these groups. Okay, wow, a lot of stuff happening here and also a lot of stuff happening here. Now, what that's telling me is that I gotta really drill down. So what this is known as coming into what's called isolation mode. So I wanna make like the edge of this glass, maybe a little bit kind of curvy. So I'm just gonna very simply do the same thing as I just did with a simple shape on a more complex shape and make it even more complex than it is. Now, because this is a group, I need to actually double click to get deep into this, right? Double click, you'll notice that things change over here in the upper left. I'm now inside the group. Keep double clicking, keep double clicking, keep double clicking. And now, guess what? If you look here, I am now in what's called isolation mode, and I'm inside a group, inside of group, inside of group, finally getting to this path. And then I click on my direct selection tool, and you'll notice all of these individual path points that I can now work with, right? So when I click on this here, you can see that's one kind of path point. Here's another one that's a curve. Okay, here's another one that's just a hard angle, and then here's another one that's a curve. And I can play around with these just to see what I can get now that I know how to add on anchor points. Now, you will note that you can also delete anchor points just right next door to that. So let's just see what I can do now, just to make this a little bit more interesting. Notice I'm gonna click, oh, not close enough, right? It's very, very intolerant, right? So just be aware of that. Got to be right on top of it. Okay, not too bad. And now that I got these anchor points, guess what? I'm able to now manipulate this in maybe a slightly different way. I'm just going to kind of bring this out here, bring this out here. I'm just using my arrow keys. All right, let me hit the plus sign to then just say, hey, listen, let's add on one more anchor point, and then maybe even do another little kind of fun little jive there. Okay, and then come back to my direct selection tool. I'm gonna hit the A key this time. And now let's see what I can do here. And now I can not only do that, but because this is a curve, I can now manipulate this even more so. So now I'm getting kind of a more interesting glass than before I just had kind of a straight line. I'm able to really, really manipulate this to be something different, okay? So you'll see how you have all the control in the world of how you work with your shapes, all right? So again, what did we do? We just added on anchor points, okay? That's it. Sometimes we converted our anchor points because they were a hard angle, and sometimes they were a curve, and we made it into a hard angle, all right, into a corner. All right, so you really want to play around with this. We have some files for you to work with here, or find some files on your own, and really just get comfortable with it, because this is really the cornerstone of so much that you work with in Illustrator. Okay, now I'm going to come back to where I was. I'm going to simply click on this to go all the way back, and now I can see my beautiful image there. Okay, practice up. See you in the next exercise. Let's have a quick discussion about transparency or opacity. So transparency is basically what we can see through. Opacity is what we can't see through. Now, you'll see this great little illustration here has some nice little sort of translucence, right? It has the ability to kind of see through some of these shapes, so I can actually make this look like a glass. So transparency or opacity is very easily done. So when I select this, I want you to notice this is now selected, this little individual shape to create these little kind of striations, right, within the class. I want you to notice over here inside of my properties panel, I have this thing called opacity. Now right now it is at 30%. Let's bring that up to 100% so you can see exactly what it does and what it doesn't do. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Didn't see that coming. Bring this over to here and, oh, wow, look at that, 30%. Oh, I see. So it was white and it was bringing through it whatever layer was underneath it because of the 30% opacity. Let's try this one. Let's go a little bit deeper and you'll see this one is also 30%. This one, see, so you can see how these guys work together. See, so you can see how to create these guys this work together. Illusion of depth. So you can to create the illusion that there is something behind it, so they can all kind of work together. So see how the layers themselves, you'll see that there's all kinds of stuff hiding. These guys just work together. Illusion, all these layers here, so you can, and as a result, create the illusion being able to see through this, through that there is opacity, something behind it, create the illusion of glass. All right. So you want to play around with that. So they can all kind of create together. Some, more things with it themselves. My goal for you right now is just to understand all kinds of stuff hiding. These guys just work together. All these layers of transparency into our graphics, into our image. All right. So you can play around with this image or try it with something else. It works really nice to have a banner that maybe something is behind the banner and you want to be able to see through that banner. Maybe you have a seascape or a cityscape, something like that. And you can make that come through. All right, so we'll do one example like this. I'll bring this down, and let's just say this guy here is above, right, what I'm working with here. Let's just go just like that. And if I bring down the opacity on this, which is now 100%, you'll be able to see a nice, cool effect as a result of me just simply bringing down the opacity. All right, so practice that, have fun, and we'll see you in the next exercise. We are now going to discuss the basics of type and typography and all of the elements that you can use within Illustrator to modify your type, format it, and really ultimately have control over the layout of your type. So very simply, I'm just going to go ahead and click on my little T over here, or I can just simply tap on the T on my keyboard and that gets activated. And very simply, I'm just going to draw out a text box. So I'm just going to draw out a text box right there. And automatically, you'll notice that some type automatically comes in there. Like, oh, wait a second, I didn't ask for that. Illustrator gives you this little placeholder type, right? Text, content, copy, right? So if I don't want that to do that anymore, I can go over to my preferences. So if you're on a Windows computer, if you go to Edit and you go over here to Preferences, you'll see there's an option for type. Now, if you're on a Mac, you can click on the Illustrator menu in the upper left, click on Preferences, and then go to Type. And if you don't want that to do that anymore, you can just say, hey, do not fill type objects with placeholders. So you would just not do that, and then you can click on the Illustrator menu in the upper left. Click on Preferences and then go to Type. And if you don't want that to do that anymore, you can just say, hey, do not fill type objects with placeholders. So you would just not do that, and then